you're new in real estate or you're stumbling around in real estate and you're like, I don't know who to go after. I don't know who to go talk to. I don't know what to do. I can help. I'm Kathy Barnes, and I'm a realtor here in the North Charlotte area of Lake Norman. And that's the first thing that I did was figure out who I was going to work with, because I didn't want to work with anybody. So I wanted to figure out, what's my niche? What's my niche? Which way do you say that? Anyway, so my background was I came from Michigan. I've been around water all my life. And I moved here to the Lake Norman area. Nice little man-made lake. Very different from the Great Lakes. Very different. But it's a waterfront area. A lot of people love to be on the water. I love to be around the water. So I thought, also waterfronts cost more money. When I was a financial planner, I always targeted who would be my perfect client to pay me the money that I would need to net the best net that I was attempting to achieve. Because your gross is great, but it's your net that pays, how your lifestyle is. So I knew that if I had a price point of waterfront homes that was, in that time, because I started in 2006, much higher now, 400 to 900,000 on the water in Lake Norman, all around Lake Norman. And I figured out how I would track them down, who the owners were. It was a long process, but I did it because I knew that that was going to be my target market. I also wanted to figure out how I would live on the water. Ideally, it would start out as a rental. Well, not ideally. It was a fact. It would have to be a rental. So I was very on purpose to find out how I could rent a little cottage on the water so that I would be in proximity to these people that also had cottages. And it took me a couple years, but I managed to do that. I lived in 2 little waterfront cottages that I adored. I think the period of time was probably around 7 years between the 2 of them, 6 years at one and only a year at the first one. But my point was, my niche was second homeowners of waterfront properties or primary homeowners in that price point, because it was a price point a lot of the agents locally were not going after. It was something that I liked, waterfront. And so for me, I figured out everything I needed to know about the waterfront, because a man-made lake, which is what Lake Norman is very different than a God-made lake. So there was a lot of rules and regulations here. And that was the first thing I set out to do, was to learn as much as I could about the rules of the lake, the setbacks, the piers, the permits, all the different variables, septic, because a lot of homes on the lake are on septic versus city sewer and city water. So I needed to become very familiar with that. And so now I created my list. That probably took me weeks to create the list because I had to go one by one in the tax records. I found out who actually owned the property, was it a second homeowner or not. So my niche was very fine-tuning waterfronts, but that doesn't mean that it has to be your niche. What is your niche? Are you a mom of a bunch of kids and you're around all these families at different sporting events? Your niche could be those moms, those families. And how will you be actively involved with them? Or your niche could be charities. You're heavily involved with Rotary or something like that where you're involved. You want to have something that you love be part of your niche so that you become knowledgeable on that niche, very knowledgeable on it, known in that niche, like how will you make yourself known, and then stick to that, primarily that niche, however, knowing that you can work outside that market to a degree. So I would say I'm a waterfront specialist, but I'm equally skilled in off-water properties. So I let them know, don't forget me if you got a water view or you're on the golf course. I'm good at that too. However, my specialty is the waterfront. And that's how I work that. So think about, for you, what do you love? What's in your life? What are you doing so much? What would you like to be a piece of your life? Now, when I moved here, I was broke, so I didn't know how I would ever live on the water. But I figured it out. I found out as I studied the water that there were a lot of little rental cottages around. When the market turned in 2008, there were short sales on the water. I got a little refurbished garage that was on the water, actually on a nice piece of land that was eventually torn down and turned into a nice house. But it was a short sale. And I thought the rent was, I think, $1,200, which was way outside of my range at the time. But I thought I had a new sale coming in, and I thought, this is it. I'm on my way. Big mistake. Get paid before you leap. That was a big life lesson. But I did it anyway. I had already signed the contract. It was a short sale. But I negotiated in that contract that if they did sell it, which they weren't always selling really fast, that they would have to pay me back $2,000 so that I would have the money for the first and last month's rent on the next place that I would go rent, right? And so it did. It did pop up where it was sold, and they did give me my $2,000. And I reached out to an agent in the office, and I said, I reached out to all the agents in the office, and I said, if anybody knows of a little cottage on the lake for rent, I'm interested. Well, one of the guys was selling a waterfront property that had a cottage on, and they were open to renting it. And they had listed it very high. They were still living in 2007 high price point. And when I met the seller, I asked him, I said, are you reducing the price on this at all? And he goes, no. I said, anywhere near in the near future? He goes, not likely. I said, great. I said, so I might be able to live here a while. He said, maybe. He was still hoping he'd sell it at the $1.5 million that it was priced at. I was not the listing agent. The guy in the office was. And his sign was on the front yard. However, I marketed to that little cove there. It wasn't even little. It was a mile-long peninsula, and I marketed to them like crazy because that was my goal. I was going to be a waterfront specialist, right? And so I've been studying, and my income was slowly inching up where I could even afford the rent. But that one was only $1,000 a month. That was even better. And it was month to month, and it was on a handshake. I paid for all repairs and everything, so it was risky. And it was a really old little A-frame cottage, which I freaking loved. It was on a point. But I stayed true to my niche. I kept learning and figuring out how to market to those people. I sent out postcards to that all those people whose names I'd gotten. And in the beginning, because my budget was small, my postcards were small. I ended up getting a golf cart that I had wrapped with my name on it and stuff, and I would drive around the neighborhood in that golf cart trying to get known, where it would kind of play off the postcards that I had done. And I ended up selling 15 different properties, much of which was land, on that peninsula, and really getting a name for myself as a waterfront specialist. And I decided that's where I'm staying. I'm sticking to that niche because it has served me well. It doesn't matter what your niche is. If you've got a niche where it's sports and you're a family, like all the soccer or the baseball or whatever, and you're all meeting regularly and you're connecting with those families, I would encourage you to get involved, like as a leader of one of the things where you're in charge of the treats. I don't know, because I didn't do much of this stuff ever in my life. So I can't relate to the sports piece of it, but I know a lot of people are heavy into it, and they know all of them, and there's probably other realtors in there, but how can you set yourself out so you're unique? What are you giving to them that nobody else has given to them? Think of something that makes it unique. Use ChatGPT for ideas. I'm telling you, I love ChatGPT. I use it all the time. It stays open on my computer. I'm always asking it for ideas for different ways that I can promote myself on a beer budget within my niche too, right? And you can do that as well. So charities are a big thing. You want a higher price point market, do high-level charities that people are involved with. Be on the board, be a volunteer. People get to know you, and those are the people that are living in the luxury properties. That's how you can level up. Now that's probably a harder niche to get into, and I'm sure there's other realtors in there that would be already crowding the space. I'd probably try and check it out by buying a ticket to one of the ones that you're checking out, so you could kind of get a feel. Like who's on this board, do some history. But this is your business, and this is what you're going to need to do. You're going to study it, you're going to figure it out, and you're going to go to different places. Like, I'd ask ChatGPT, what's the best way to figure out my niche? I like it, asking it questions to help me think, get my creative juices going. You can too. And think of whatever it is that you love that drives you. Whitewater Center, like you love going to the Whitewater Center. Oh, you may not have that in your area. Whatever is a cool park or a skiing or snowboarding or whatever it is that is a popular thing that you like to do, where there's other people who like the same things. Maybe you create meetups for things like that, and you start creating your niche around where you're getting a reputation on that way. ChatGPT will help you on a lot of that stuff, but it's important, I think, to be known for something. Doctors have specialties, realtors have specialties. The ones that are successful do create their niche. You do want to have your business plan. This is a business. Make sure you're laying out everything that you're going to be doing, the days that you're going to be marketing this. I want you to really focus on YouTube as your primary source of social media and filter it to the other ones, because YouTube lives longer. The term is evergreen. And think of things like that. Like if you were doing something on the waterfronts, don't just specialize in one home. Like if you've got a listing like on a waterfront, I just learned this actually, that you do the whole neighborhood. You do a video on the whole neighborhood and you feature a house. This is an example of a house that I've got listed right now, and check it out. Check out what's in this neighborhood. Maybe it's like in my scenario, it would be there are HOA homes that are on the water and non-HOA homes. That would be a great video right there. Ooh, I'm gonna have to do that. So, see what I mean? There's content everywhere in everything that you do. Let your juices flow and collaborate with other agents. I know this one agent, she's so sharp, she created a Facebook group for other agents to collaborate on. And a lot of them are younger agents. So every generation has different ideas. The truth is, she inspires me. I hope I inspire her. And collaboration is so important in this business. And if you don't have it at your company, it's a missing piece. You've got it at EXP, that's where I'm at. If you ever want to do a business strategy call so I can help you figure out what would be good for you, just let me know. I'm happy to do that. We'll book a strategy call. If not, just follow below and learn some other tips. Won't hurt, might help. I'm Kathy Burns. Thanks for listening.